Old Eighth actually dared to take action against the old demon, Lu Zhou. Just now, Lu Zhou, having fully condensed the 8 methods unobstructed avatar, slowly opened his eyes. Due to the long condensation time, his legs had gone numb, causing him to stagger and fall to the ground. This time, apart from the duration being longer, there was no difference from before. There were no bottlenecks, nor were there any issues with the dragging process. The mobilization of primal energy and the condensation of the avatar were exceptionally precise. Lu Zhou checked his cultivation level, and indeed, he had advanced to the Divine Court realm, the realm of governing the way, just a step away from the way of transformation. At this realm, one could easily control one's own path of cultivation. In the Great Flame world, each person's path of cultivation begins to take shape in the early stages of the Divine Court realm, paths of the knife, sword, and so on. Many cultivators often set the direction of their cultivation early on, but it truly takes shape in this realm of the Divine Court realm. At the governing the way stage, the foundations laid in the previous paths of cultivation are also manifested in the weapons, which is why heavenly weapons are so precious. Lu Zhou nodded in satisfaction, sensing the state of the extraordinary power of the heavenly writing, which was about 1/3 of its saturated state, still quite decent. Governing the way in the Divine Court realm, this speed was truly unparalleled. He pushed open the window to stretch his body, but embarrassingly found that the outside was already crowded with people. How bold! A light shout mixed with a trace of primal energy rolled out from the East Pavilion. Ming Sharin and Hua Wudao, among others, took several steps back, all shouting, "Master, Pavilion Lord, are you also idle?" "I dare not." Ming Sharin quickly bowed and said, "Master, I went to find Jian Aijian. He said the box you asked him to investigate was not in the palace. As for the things of the Evil Sky Pavilion, he needs to investigate carefully. Also, he suspects that Siwuya is investigating him, so he will not contact the Evil Sky Pavilion for the time being." That rebellious disciple again. Even the body-binding divine spell's punishment can't make him behave. Jian Aijian also said that he heard about the Lotus Platform affair, and the expert who dueled with the master was likely from the Lulan Masters of the Western Frontier. Lulan Masters? Are they very powerful? Little Yuaner asked, puzzled. Ming Sharin explained, back when Lulan went to war with Great Flame, it brought devastation. Countless people were displaced, and the cause of this was the witchcraft cultivators of Lulan. Despite this, Lulan was defeated. Since then, Great Flame cultivators no longer underestimate witchcraft. Duan Mushing was somewhat surprised. Does Great Flame not have any powerful practitioners of witchcraft? While Wudao replied, witchcraft itself originated from Great Flame, but its weaknesses are too obvious, and there are few practitioners. Only some cultivators who are devoted to witchcraft still persist. Ming Sharin bowed to Lu Zhou and reminded him, Master, this information should be reliable. The ability to control such a large amount of witchcraft on the Lotus Platform should not be underestimated. The being they encountered at the energy nexus on the Lotus Platform was not human, but some kind of fierce beast. Thus, the opponent is likely the master of this beast. Lu Zhou nodded. Did your trip to the Divine Capital expose any of your movements? Ming Sharin confidently answered, absolutely not. Old Seventh is indeed clever, but he wouldn't possibly have someone watch me even when I go to the toilet. That's a valid point, but the analogy is too crude. Moreover, with Ming Sharin's skills, hiding his movements is not difficult. As Lu Zhou was pondering, a sudden loud noise came from afar. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw that it came from the location of the reflection cave on the back mountain. At this moment, Zhou Jifeng ran from the back mountain and kneeled before Lu Zhou, anxiously saying, Pavilion Lord, something has happened to Mr. 8. Lu Zhou said nothing, down from the pavilion, and headed towards the back mountain. Ming Sharin followed and muttered, Old Eighth, this fool, can't he ever keep quiet? Zhou Jifeng said anxiously, Mr. 8 has lost the precious Zen robe. A moment later, everyone arrived at the entrance of Reflection Cave. Han Zhong was standing at the entrance, looking bewildered, and muttering, this is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Ming Sharin stepped forward to ask, what's impossible? Han Zhong felt his confidence severely shaken, his face filled with disbelief. I personally bound Mr. 8's cultivation with my techniques. How could it be undone? Could it be that I didn't go deep enough? Hua Wudao looked at the barrier at the cave's entrance and said, this forceful energy chaos results from forcibly practicing the cultivation technique. It needs to be suppressed quickly. Forceful energy chaos often occurs because of practicing an incomplete technique. In an attempt to raise their realm, practitioners might supplement the missing parts of the technique themselves. If the person is a genius at creating techniques, it can have a good effect, but otherwise, this is what happens. Lu Zhou shook his head and said, why bring suffering upon oneself unnecessarily? After saying this, he strode into the cave. Inside, Zhu Honghong looked up and saw, Master, his eyes were bloodshot, seemingly losing his sanity. He raised his palm, about to unleash a 9 tribulations thunderous energy strike, but before he could rush forward, he suddenly shuddered with fear and quickly reversed his palm strike towards his own chest. The forceful energy recoiled, sending him flying several meters backward, crashing to the ground. Zhu Honghong let out a painful scream, rolling on the ground. Lu Zhou looked on calmly and said, at least you know who your master is, preferring to hurt yourself rather than harm your master. After saying this, this. He picked up his palm, and a golden forceful energy mark flew out. This gentle forceful energy mark hit Zhu Honghong's chest. Zhu Honghong calmed down as if doused with cold water. The raging heat and forceful energy in his body gradually ceased. Everyone watching this scene expressed their amazement, while Wu Dao's eyes lit up, and he explained, "This is the technique and experience I was talking about earlier." Zhu Honghong, after all, is a cultivator of the divine court realm, way of transformation, with extremely chaotic primal energy inside his body. Forcibly suppressing it would only backfire. Using gentle and relatively weaker forceful energy is actually more beneficial. Do not underestimate that palm strike. Without exceptional control, it is difficult to achieve without hurting the person. Xiao Yu nodded, listening to Elder Hua. I've gained quite a bit of insight. While Wu Dao sighed, it's nothing to speak of. Sometimes I really envy you all. The master leads the way, but cultivation is up to the individual. The pavilion lord manages countless affairs, perhaps not having much time to impart cultivation insights, but the pavilion lord's teachings by example are more effective than those abstract theories. Unfortunately, I am too old now to have such an opportunity. The disciples were left speechless by the words. Why does this sound off? Elder Hua's words seem fine, but they're a bit awkward. Are you sure he's not boasting or flattering? Lu Zhou stood with his hands behind his back, quietly watching Old Eighth. He felt equally speechless in his heart. The palm strike he had delivered earlier wasn't thought through that much. It was simply meant to calm Old Eighth down. Whether it hurt him or not didn't matter, as Old Eighth was tough enough to handle it. At this moment, Old Eighth regained some energy and crawled and rolled to kneel in front of Lu Zhou, crying and calling out, "Master, you're here." Lu Zhou looked at him calmly. "Speak, what happened?" Zhu Honghong, frightened, shivered and quickly confessed, "Master, 3 days ago, the upper prime 5 rats stole my precious Zen robe. The precious Zen robe helped suppress my chaotic forceful energy. Please, Master, stand up for me." "Upper prime 5 rats?" Lu Zhou asked, puzzled. Old Eighth nodded righteously. "They wanted to take me away from Golden Court Mountain, but how could I be that kind of person? I flatly refused their unreasonable demands. The 5 rats, in their desperation, stole my precious Zen robe. It's truly despicable. I hope for Master's discernment. My loyalty is as clear as the sun and the moon. I hope for Master's discernment." Zhu Honghong deliberately raised his voice towards the end, leaving Ming Sharin somewhat speechless. Is this still the same naive and foolish Old Eighth? He's quite eloquent now. Lu Zhou continued to inquire, "How many levels have you cultivated of the 9 tribulations thunderous energy?" Zhu Honghong, sweating profusely, stammered in reply, "Master, the 7th level, celestial phenomena. With your level of cultivation and experience, you actually dared to attempt completing the remaining 2 levels of the technique?" "I dare not." Zhu Honghong's forehead touched the ground, trembling violently. "The disciple is foolish. When cultivating the 4th level of the 9 tribulations thunderous energy, cherishing flowers, in the 5th level, forgetting emotions, a mishap occurred, causing primal energy chaos and almost leading to demonic possession. So, did Old 7th, that wayward disciple, think of a way to obtain the heaven-chosen temple's precious Zen robe to suppress your primal energy?" Zhu Honghong had no choice but to nod in response. "Yes." At this point, Ming Sharin reminded, "Master, don't fall for Old 7th's tricks. He is currently under the body-binding divine spell and is trying to deceive you into acting. I suspect that in cases like Old 8th's, only a body-binding spell can suppress it, or else the problem will recur. After casting the body-binding spell, only you can release it. Therefore, I suspect that Old 7th has left some sort of linking spell or seal on Old 8th, sharing the method to undo the spell through this means. The so-called linking spells are also a type of secret technique within the Taoist tradition. Cultivators linked by this technique can share any inflicted damage or healing over a certain period. Later, the Buddhist sect adapted this technique into the illuminating Buddha's light, forming a group healing secret technique that can heal multiple people simultaneously. However, it consumes a lot and few people use it." After Ming Sharin finished speaking, he looked at Old 8th with pride. "Old 7th, you can't even trap me with your schemes, let alone the master." At this moment, while Wu Dao chimed in, Ming Sharin speaks wisely. Lu Zhou did not express any opinion but instead focused his gaze on Zhu Honghong. "Old 8th, your master is waiting for your explanation." Zhu Honghong was in tears. "Master, I am wronged. Wrong my foot. Old 7th has helped you so many times. Your motives for helping him are too great." Lu Zhou then spoke. "Why not check to see if it's true or not? If there truly is a linking spell, then Ming Sharin's deduction would be correct. Otherwise, it would not." Ming Sharin and others then began to check with tools. After a moment, the inspection was complete, and Duan Mushing bowed to Lu Zhou. "Master, the check is complete. Nothing was found." Ming Sharin felt somewhat embarrassed. "This is bad. Excessive suspicion. Master is definitely going to scold us now." However, Lu Zhou did not blame him. Just because it's not found now doesn't mean it won't be later. What Ming Sharin said is not without reason. Zhu Honghong, still with tears streaming down his face. "I have never been so wronged in my life. I am wronged." Ming Sharin, feeling awkward, stepped forward and wiped his tears. "Old 8th, stop making excuses. The 5 rats took your precious Zen robe, but didn't try to take you away. Do you still expect Old 7th to help you? He's just using you. As soon as the precious Zen robe was mentioned. Zhu Honghong's eyes bulged with energy. This item was his lifeline. Losing the precious Zen robe was almost like taking his life. Master, I have something to say. I know you are punishing seventh brother, and I have a plan. Ming Sharin looked at him with a complex expression. With his intelligence, he wants to offer a plan? How does this sound so unreliable? Zhu Honghong gave an awkward smile. Master, I know we're old seventh, and the five rats like to meet. Ming Sharin asked doubtfully. With old seventh's abilities, would he let you know such a confidential matter? Zhu Honghong chuckled. I found out about it by accident. Besides, at that time, seventh brother trusted me a lot. So you turned around and betrayed him? Zhu Honghong didn't know what to say in response. Lu Zhou then spoke up. While Zhu Honghong's clue might not be valuable, it was better than nothing, and they still had to guard against the wayward disciples' potential deeper schemes. He wasn't worried about these. As for him, seeing Xiao was all that mattered. The rest was insignificant. Any conspiracy or trickery pales before absolute power, as if it were mere paper. Zhu Honghong answered, Upper Prime City, Longwen Tavern. Xiao Yu was somewhat surprised. The Black Cavalry once went to Upper Prime City to quell unrest, and the five rats still dare to stay in Upper Prime City? The most dangerous place is the safest place. These rats are unrecognized by anyone. Even if they stood in the middle of the street, you might not know them. Meeting in Upper Prime City doesn't surprise me at all. Lu Zhou then called out Ming Sharin's name. Ming Sharin, disciple here. You will go to Upper Prime City to bring back Xiao. Also, inform the Upper Prime 5 rats that it would be wise for them to come to the mountain to confess their sins, or else they will bear the consequences. After hearing this, Ming Sharin did not dare to be careless. Disciple obeys. Zhu Honghong moved closer, smiling timidly. Master, does this count as making a merit? I hope Master and my brothers will help me retrieve the precious Zen robe. Upon hearing this, Lu Zhou's gaze fell on him. Wayward disciple, what should be done for withholding information? Old eighth, knowing the contact point yet concealing it until now, shows selfish motives. Zhu Honghong, terrified, knelt down again. Disciple knows his mistake. 50 strokes with the staff. Duan Mushing will execute. Lu Zhou said coldly. Disciple obeys. After speaking, Lu Zhou turned his back. Proceed. Seeing that the master had not left, Zhu Honghong felt very distressed. Clearly, his elder wanted to supervise personally, making these 50 strokes possibly more painful than 100 in the past. Senior brother, go easy. He was just about to plead when he saw Duan Mushing carrying a large tree trunk walking briskly in. Sorry, junior brother, the rules are the rules, and it's better to err on the side of severity. It's for your own good. If even a place as grand as Golden Court Mountain has no discipline, how can we restore its former glory? After saying this, Duan Mushing struck Zhu Honghong. A pig-like scream immediately spread throughout the entire back mountain. For the severe punishment of the wayward disciple Zhu Honghong, 500 merit points are awarded. After hearing the prompt, Lu Zhou did not even glance at Zhu Honghong and turned to leave Reflection Cave. Ming Sharin patted Zhu Honghong on the butt and chuckled. Old eighth, you got what you deserved. Getting 50 lashes is still better than having your cultivation destroyed or your life taken. I'll figure out a way to get your precious Zen robe back. Zhu Honghong was overjoyed upon hearing this. Still, my brother treats me well. Ming Sharin didn't look back at him, turning to leave. Pan Zhong hurried up to him. Mr. Fourth is truly meticulous and wise. If it weren't for Mr. Fourth seeing through the deception, we might all have been fooled by Mr. Seventh, the traitor. Ming Sharin felt there was something off about him. Is there something you need? Pan Zhong answered earnestly. I truly admire Mr. Fourth from the bottom of my heart, without any falsehood. I just love hearing you talk, all flattery and fawning, yet it sounds so sincere. Having said that, Ming Sharin leapt and left Reflection Cave. Meanwhile, in a tranquil small building, Xiao was not trying to decipher the divine spell as before, but was looking at the night sky, seemingly lost in thought. He couldn't figure it out. When had his master mastered such profound divine spell techniques? On a nearby shelf, various books about divine spells were somewhat disordered. These books had been collected from searches he had ordered. He had been studying daily how to break the divine spell, but despite trying almost all the methods mentioned in these books, none had worked. At that moment, a subordinate approached from a distance. Master, we have checked. Evil Sky Pavilion has not had any dealings with Buddhist or Taoist masters. Siwia asked. The Buddhist master from the Runan Sanctuary, the Taoist master from crossing the Sky River, the Great Hand Seal of the 9 characters from Tangzi Town, and even the unknown forces on the Lotus platform. Are all these unrelated to the outside world? The subordinate shook his head. No clues were found. Master, should we continue the investigation? No need. It can essentially be confirmed. The master is seeking new methods. Have you found any spies from the Evil Sky Pavilion? Siwia asked. The subordinate replied. We only know that the opponent is skilled, but we do not know who it is. What about the palace? No spies in the palace have been found either. However, we did receive another piece of information. A master from the western frontier of Lulan has entered the palace. This person is likely the instigator behind the Lotus platform formation. This Moli really has some methods. You may go. The subordinate replied yes and then left the place. Before long, another subordinate hurried over. Master, a report from Upper Prime City. The Upper Prime 5 rats have stolen Mr. 8's precious Zen robe. They claim to use the item to offset the compensation for the mission action against Evil Sky Pavilion. Hearing this, Siwuya's eyes snapped open. Foolish, Master. The upper prime 5 rats are not from the dark net and are hard to control. Should we take this opportunity to eliminate them all? Siwuya didn't speak, pondering for a moment before saying, send a flying letter to the 5 rats. Meet in Upper Prime City in 2 days. Master, your current situation is not suitable for appearing in public. I can handle all matters on your behalf. Siwuya shook his head and replied, no matter. The master from Western Frontier has arrived. Upper Prime has been too quiet for too long. It's time to start a fire. Yes, I will take care of it. The time soon came to the next day, and Lu Zhou slowly opened his eyes from the state of contemplating the heavenly writing. He felt the extraordinary power, still a long way from saturation. However, fortunately, the speed of contemplation was faster than before. Previously it took 7 to 10 days to reach saturation, but now it would only take about 5 days. He came to the table and looked down at the ancient parchment map. Compared to the day before, there were no changes to the ancient parchment, only the pattern of the Divine Capital Palace was slightly clearer. The rest remained blurred or blank. Other fragments of the heavenly writing might just be in the palace, but how to find them? Jian Aijian, though greatly skilled, is looking for a needle in a haystack, and moreover, Jian Aijian doesn't even know what the heavenly writing looks like. Should I make a trip myself? While pondering, the voice of Duan Mushing came from outside. Master, Old Eighth's primal energy is chaotic, just like yesterday. Lu Zhou said, send Pan Zhong over to seal his meridians, Energy Center, and Energy Sea. If that doesn't hold, just keep hitting him until his primal energy is depleted. Duan Mushing's eyes lit up at this. Master's insight is profound. Why didn't I think of that? It's been a long time since anyone practiced together. He was just about to turn and leave. At this moment, Lu Zhou asked, where's Xiao Yu? Xiao Yu's behavior had been somewhat strange recently, necessitating extra attention. Plus, it was usually Xiao Yu who delivered messages, so it didn't make sense for Duan Mushing to come suddenly. Duan Mushing answered, Sister Xiao Yu is unwell, resting in the South Pavilion. Unwell? Lu Zhou was puzzled after hearing this. By the stage of Divine Court Realm's way of transformation, common illnesses should be far behind. Go and attend to Old Eighth. I will go now. Duan Mushing responded and turned to leave. Lu Zhou then made his way to the South Pavilion. The pavilion was quiet, seemingly nothing unusual. Lu Zhou stood outside the South Pavilion and observed quietly for a while, then transmitted his voice, Xiao Yu. A surprised voice came from the room. Master? Lu Zhou walked over with his hands behind his back, but he did not immediately enter. From Xiao Yu's voice, he detected a hint of tension and pain. As he approached the doorway, a wave of icy cold energy rushed at him. Lu Zhou frowned, waved his hand, and a burst of forceful energy directly flung the door open. His gaze fell on Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu was not resting, but rather curled up in a corner, trembling, her head covered in cold sweat. Her body and hair were stained with the cold energy, alternating between cold and hot. Half of her hair was wet, and a thin layer of white frost even covered the surface of her clothes. Xiao Yu didn't expect her master to visit suddenly. She quickly endured the cold, knelt down, and said, Disciple greets master. Seeing her in this state, Lu Zhou shook his head helplessly, having a good understanding of what was going on. His disciples, each one more worrisome than the last. The clear jade technique is a profound and powerful cultivation method, which Xiao Yu had chosen to practice on her own initiative. When this technique is fully activated, the practitioner's appearance becomes increasingly transparent, as if shrouded in cold mist. Primal energy lingers outside the skin and, when condensed into forceful energy, causes alternating cold and heat. Xiao Yu's cultivation method was not wrong, but in her eagerness for progress, she lacked sufficient protective energy to resist the invasion of the cold energy. Rushing the process only brought her suffering. Lu Zhou sighed deeply and looked at Xiao Yu, asking, why? Xiao Yu lowered her head, not daring to look at him. Disciple knows her mistake. I shouldn't have been so impatient. Is that all? Disciple dares not say. Speak. Xiao Yu did not dare to hide anything, and explained everything in detail. I don't know what happened. Since practicing the completed technique, the flow of my primal energy has become extremely erratic, and my cultivation speed has actually decreased significantly. Lu Zhou found this very strange, as this issue had not occurred with any of the other disciples. The other disciples had increased their cultivation speed significantly after receiving the completed techniques. The fastest was Little Yuaner, who entered the nascent divinity tribulation realm in a very short time. Xiao Yu started her training earlier than Little Yuaner, and even if her talent was not as great as Little Yuaner's, she should not be falling behind this much. Don't move. He then gently raised his hand. A faint primal energy drifted from his palm and landed on Xiao Yu. Sure enough, when the primal energy entered Xiao Yu's meridians, a cold energy pushed back, trying to expel Lu Zhou's primal energy. Not right. This cold energy does not originate from the clear jade technique. It is very unusual and eerie, seemingly existing in her body for a long time. Lu Zhou withdrew his hand and calmly said, lift your head. I ask you, what techniques did you practice before you joined Evil Sky Pavilion? Xiao Yu shook her head. Do not lie. Xiao Yu hurriedly responded, every word I say is true. I bestowed upon you the clear jade technique. How many levels have you mastered? Xiao Yu replied, I am slow, having mastered only 6 levels. The 7th level is still not well practiced. The 2 final levels of the technique you completed are obscure and difficult to understand, and I have not yet had the chance to practice them. So, the last 2 levels of the technique are not the main cause. At most, they trigger the issue. The cold poison in Xiao Yu's body is the real problem. Think again. Before you practiced the clear jade technique, did you encounter any cultivators, practice unknown techniques, or sustain injuries? This cold poison must have a source. It couldn't have appeared out of nowhere. After hearing this, Xiao Yu fell into deep thought. I was only 9 when I entered the sect, and I don't remember much. Lu Zhou pressed further. What about before you were 9? Sorting out the events after she joined the evil Sky Pavilion was manageable, but recalling her life before that required her own memories. Xiao Yu hesitated, her face showing signs of panic. Are you still hiding something? At her master's stern call, Xiao Yu nervously lowered her head. I dare not. Some say I came from the palace, but I didn't believe them. Who told you this? I don't know him, but I could tell he was a master, likely from the palace too. I had just met Sister Qianqin, and she asked me to activate a formation. I encountered this person when I was at Green Sun Mountain, and you know what happened after that. Master Yi Tianqin, leading cultivators, ambushed Lu Zhou at Green Sun Mountain. How could Lu Zhou possibly forget? Yi Tianqin is probably the boldest among these 9 disciples. Recalling that Yi Tianqin was expelled from Evil Sky Pavilion long ago, I wonder if she is alive or dead now. Since you come from the palace, you should go there to investigate. Xiao Yu bent forward in response. Disciple remembers the rules of Evil Sky Pavilion. Once entering the pavilion, all ties to the past are severed. I dare not overstep. If I am not mistaken, the cold poison you are afflicted with is the mystic dark palm seal. This is an extremely sinister Taoist seal. Do you really not plan to investigate? Xiao Yu shook her head after hearing this. Lu Zhou's gaze fell again on the jade pendant atop Xiao Yu's head, recalling the scene when he took her as a disciple. She has worn this jade pendant since childhood, and now, thinking back, it indeed seems very suspicious. How could an ordinary family possess such a valuable jade pendant? Someone bring Flowers and Moon Journey here. The female disciple outside the door received the order and left immediately. Shortly after, Flowers and Moon Journey appeared in the South Pavilion. Flowers and Moon Journey greets the Pavilion Lord. Lu Zhou nodded and asked, how long did you serve in the palace? Replying to Pavilion Lord, less than a year. During this year, did you encounter any masters skilled in using the mystic Dark Palm Seal? Dark Palm Seal? Flowers and Moon Journey shook her head in confusion. I have not seen it. However, there are many masters in the palace from various sects. Perhaps there is a cultivator skilled in the mystic Dark Palm Seal. That's equivalent to no answer. Enough. You may leave. Flowers and Moon Journey takes her leave. She then exited the room, muttering to herself as she walked. The Pavilion Lord seems very gentle. After Flowers and Moon Journey left, Lu Zhou approached Xiao Yu and took off his upper garment, revealing his muscular torso. He said to Xiao Yu, sit properly. Xiao Yu was delighted upon hearing this, her face flushed with a hint of excitement in her eyes. Disciple thanks master. The old demon, Lu Zhou, removed his clothing and gently placed his hand on the female disciple's body. Do not resist. Hearing her master's words, Xiao Yu quickly replied, yes. Lu Zhou decided to try using the extraordinary power, knowing that even if it didn't work, there wouldn't be any loss. Fortunately, the extraordinary power of the heavenly writing obeyed his command once more, cooperating even more than before and seamlessly integrating into the primal energy. The primal energy smoothly entered Xiao Yu's body through her acupoints and flowed into her major meridians without any sign. Xiao Yu suddenly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The cold poison indeed resisted immediately. Seeing this, Lu Zhou snorted coldly. Just some cold poison. Daring to resist, he then mobilized the primal energy again, unleashing a stronger force of the heavenly writing. The originally transparent and colorless primal energy turned as if dyed in deep blue, becoming incredibly splendid. Near his palm, it seemed as if indescribable blue fireflies were swirling around, quickly forcing out the cold poison lingering in the meridians. In an instant, the force of the heavenly writing crushed and diminished it, and the cold poison in Xiao Yu's meridians weakened at a terrifying rate until it disappeared. Meanwhile, Flowers and Moon Journey, who had left the Eastern Pavilion not long ago, found herself increasingly puzzled, perhaps because she had spent some time in the palace, doing whatever the Jade Consort asked without questioning the reasons. Now that she was in the Evil Sky Pavilion, this habit persisted. She scratched her head, unable to understand why the Pavilion Lord had asked her that question. At that moment, Pan Zhong and Pan Lian appeared in her view. Pan Zhong called out from a distance, Miss Flowers. Hello. Flowers and Moon Journey raised an eyebrow at this. What did you call me? Pan Zhong hurriedly corrected himself in embarrassment. I didn't mean that. Elder Sister Flowers. Flowers and Moon Journey was utterly speechless. Pan Lian slapped Pan Zhong on the neck, his eyes showing some frustration. Miss Moon Journey. You should call her Miss Moon Journey. Miss Moon Journey. Pan Zhong finally caught on. Pan Lian stepped forward to inquire, Miss Moon Journey, may I see the Pavilion Lord? Flowers and Moon Journey curiously asked. You have business with the Pavilion Lord, Senior? Pan Lian said. I was fortunate to receive the Black Magnolia from the Pavilion Lord, and now that my Energy Center and Energy Sea have just begun to open, I naturally owe him thanks. Senior, has your cultivation been restored? Having heard stories and legends about Pan Lian, the #1 expert of the Clarity sect, such figures only existed in the stories told by elders during her childhood. Naturally, she was surprised to hear about his recovery. Pan Lian shook his head. It's not about recovery yet. That will take time. Within 5 years, I will return to the peak. Pan Zhong nodded with a smile at the side. These days, Pan Lian often sought out Pan Zhong for chats, and the two had become more familiar with each other than others. Pan Lian was unwilling to acknowledge Pan Zhong's identity, thinking that since both were from the Clarity sect, the senior was merely looking out for him. Thus, he didn't think much about it. Setting aside age, they seemed like old friends who hadn't seen each other for a long time. Sometimes, they were informal, and Pan Lian didn't mind. Flowers and Moon Journey clasped her hands in congratulations. Congratulations, senior. Pan Lian also clasped his fists in response. You haven't told this old man where the Pavilion Lord is. I've been to the Eastern Pavilion and the main hall of the Evil Sky Pavilion, but haven't seen the Pavilion Lord. Flowers and Moon Journey answered. He's in the South Pavilion and should be coming out soon. Thank you, Miss Flowers. Pan Zhong hastily covered his mouth. The words had slipped out without thinking. Just then, a faint blue energy radiated from Xiao Yu's residence, spreading outwards like a tide. Be careful. Activate your protective forceful energy. The three were immediately startled and simultaneously activated their protective forceful energy, forming a transparent barrier in front of them. However, the barrier only held for a few seconds before shattering like glass. The three stepped back several paces before the energy gradually subsided. They looked in the direction of Xiao Yu's residence with shocked expressions. What kind of power is this? Flowers and Moon Journey asked, puzzled. Hearing Flowers and Moon Journey's confusion, Pan Lian explained, it's the power of the barrier. Why would the Pavilion Lord use the power of the barrier? Flowers and Moon Journey couldn't understand. Not just her, even the immensely experienced Pan Lian couldn't figure it out. While the three were perplexed, Lu Zhou walked out of the South Pavilion with his hands behind his back. His gaze swept over the three, finally settling on Pan Lian. How does it feel to regain your cultivation? Pan Lian bowed deeply. I am deeply grateful to the Pavilion Lord for his grace. From now on, my life belongs to Evil Sky Pavilion. Lu Zhou noted Pan Lian's steadily increasing loyalty, which was evident in his speech. Pan Lian spoke neither humbly nor arrogantly, neither hurriedly nor slowly, composed and forceful. Pan Lian was the first to express his loyalty in such words, and regardless of his sincerity, these words were pleasing to hear. Flowers and Moon Journey and Pan Zhong both muttered to themselves, experience really does come with age. Compared to him, we are completely green. Pan Lian continued, when I entered the Eastern Pavilion earlier, I felt a surge of powerful energy. The Pavilion Lord's cultivation level is truly an eye-opener for me. Such unique energy, I have seen it for the first time. Probably only the Pavilion Lord could achieve this in the whole world. Flowers and Moon Journey and Pan Zhong were both taken aback. Are these really not just flatteries? Lu Zhou, however, didn't feel anything amiss as Pan Lian was telling the truth. He suddenly remembered that Pan Lian, having traveled far and wide, was as experienced as he was, and thus asked, Xiao Yu was afflicted by the mystic Dark Palm Seal's cold poison in her childhood. Elder Pan, have you heard of this? Dark Palm Seal? Pan Lian furrowed his brow, pondered for a moment. Dark Palm Seal is a particularly sinister method within the Taoist traditions. I do indeed know of a person skilled in using the mystic Dark Palm Seal. Lu Zhou said nothing. Pan Lian's travels were not just simple wanderings. It is said that after leaving Clarity sect, he was closely associated with certain figures in the palace for a considerable time, although no one knows exactly what he did during that period. Pan Lian stroked his beard and continued, this person is Lian Zhao, a master close to the Dowager Empress. As soon as he finished speaking, a harsh coughing sound came from Xiao Yu inside the room. Hearing this name, Xiao Yu also remembered something. Master, I remember now. The person who came to see me that day was Lian Zhao. This person came from the Taoist sect, but later practiced some evil techniques that led him into demonic cultivation, yet it paradoxically advanced his skills. Considering face, the Taoist sect expelled him. Many years later, he suddenly became a master within the imperial palace. Lu Zhou was somewhat surprised to hear this. He was not surprised by the presence of many masters in the palace. He himself had been to the palace a few times, but had never competed with any palace masters. Perhaps they were wary of his reputation as the foremost demon in the world, or perhaps bound by the rules within the palace walls. However, the fact that Lian Zhao turned out to be a prominent eunuch was unexpected. Such a master lives a life of luxury. Even as a eunuch, he receives much flattery and favor from the powerful. Sadly, not being a real man is a significant regret in life. Lian Zhao injured you. Then he looked at Xiao Yu and asked, but why come looking for you now? What is his purpose? Xiao Yu weakly replied that she did not know. Lu Zhou shook his head. Never mind, rest and recuperate for a couple of days. After saying this, he walked towards the Eastern Pavilion. Xiao Yu watched her master's retreating figure in a daze, surprised by his recent words. Could it be that her master was actually showing concern for others? She then went back inside and carefully sensed the condition of the cold poison in her body, finding it gone, which was a surprise. Until now, she had not realized realized it was cold poison. She thought it was an effect of practicing the clear jade technique. The cold and heat perfectly matched the characteristics of the clear jade technique, where ultimate practice results in a layer of frost on the skin, preserving youthfulness. Unexpectedly, it was the cold poison from the mystic dark palm seal. She once again channeled her primal energy through her meridians very smoothly, with no feeling of congestion, and the self-healing effect of the primal energy was also much stronger than before. Recalling the words her master said as he left made her feel even more ashamed. Compared to these, the hardships she had previously endured seemed trivial. Training Xiao Yu, reward 200 merit points. What is training? When an elder guides a junior, or the more powerful party instructs the weaker, this is called training. After returning to the main hall of the evil sky pavilion, Lu Zhou asked Pan Lian if he knew Lian Zhao. Pan Lian clasped his hands in response. After leaving the Clarity sect, I indeed had dealings with the palace. Frankly, during those years, I joined the military and went to the battlefield, killing countless enemies in the western frontier, and thus I rarely interacted with those within the palace walls. I do not know much about Lian Zhao. Pan Zhong was somewhat astonished to hear this. Could this unremarkable-looking elder really have such a legendary past worth boasting about? It's not uncommon for cultivators to join the military, but more often, cultivators focus on pursuing the Tao. A force of 10,000 might only have 5 or 6 cultivators, including one great cultivator, and some at the rank of centurion or decurion. Those without the talent for cultivation, or who only reached the quenched body realm or mystic enlightening realm, chose to earn their merits in the military. It was unexpected that Pan Lian would do so too. With your cultivation, you could easily turn the tide of battle. Isn't earning military honors like taking candy from a baby? Lu Zhou implied that with military honors under his belt, why still appear so aged and weary? Pan Lian sighed deeply. After leaving the Clarity sect, my cultivation was greatly reduced. I was no longer a master. In that case, it seems I need to make a trip to the divine capital myself. After hearing this, Pan Lian said, I am willing to go with you. Lu Zhou nodded. You may leave. I take my leave. Junior bids farewell. Moments later, little Yuaner came bounding in from outside. Lu Zhou asked, is there any news from the fourth? Little Yuaner replied, the fourth senior brother left for Upper Prime City early this morning. He should have arrived by now. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and nodded. Your master is tired. Sensing the cue, little Yuaner tactfully left the hall. Using the extraordinary power to expel the cold poison from Xiao Yu had taken some of his energy. Lu Zhou needed to replenish his extraordinary power within the next 2 days. Without the aid of any artifact cards, this heavenly writing ability was his greatest reliance at the moment. As for Xiao Yu's origins, that would have to be clarified later. 2 days later, in the Long Wind Tavern of Upper Prime City, Siwuya stood by the window, overlooking the entirety of Upper Prime City. This once auxiliary capital of the Great Flame had lost its former prosperity. The 5 rats had turned Upper Prime upside down, and together with the rebels, had nearly destroyed the city. A gray-robed cultivator approached him from behind. Master, our people are in place, ready to act on your command. Siwuya glanced at him, and looked back out the window. Jixing, how long have you been with me? Yi Jixing was momentarily stunned, then answered, 10 years. It has been 10 years in the blink of an eye. Jixing, do you think I can make mistakes? Yi Jixing quickly bowed. Why would Master say such a thing? The dark net has come this far all thanks to Master. You stopped tens of thousands of cultivators at the northern frontier. You supported the great teacher to establish the present underworld sect, and you set fire to the Blackwood Forest. Siwuya raised his hand to interrupt Yi Jixing's words. Every time we discuss these accomplishments, Jixing, you recount them like treasured memories. It might be my misconception, but lately, too many things have slipped out of control. Yi Jixing looked at Siwuya with a complex expression. You cannot lose confidence. After saying this, he drew his sword to make a point. Whoever the master commands me to kill, I will kill, even if it means going up against Evil Sky Pavilion. How dare you? Siwuya's eyebrows furrowed tightly. I dare not disrespect Evil Sky Pavilion. I spoke without thinking. I beg for Master's forgiveness. Siwuya shook his head, then looked out the window again. Get up. When can we expect the Upper Prime 5 rats? Yi Jixing answered. The appointment was set for this morning, but I have something to say, though I'm not sure if I should. Without Master's permission, the 5 rats took Mr. 8's precious Zen robe, which must have alarmed the old senior. Mr. 8 is always. Yi Jixing paused, searching for a diplomatic way to describe timidity, but couldn't find one. I understand what you mean. Are you worried that old 8th might betray our contact points? Master is wise. Since Master and Mr. 8 are close, some of our usual contact points had to be discontinued. I'm concerned that the old senior, furious, might send people here. Siwuya smiled. Only the 4th senior brother is tough to deal with, but he can't get the better of me. What if the old senior himself comes? Then I'll flee. Siwuya said these words with a casual air, as if it was no trouble at all. Yi Jixing thought about it too. Fleeing from a top-tier expert like the old senior isn't shameful at all. As they spoke, a figure flashed across the roof opposite, disappearing in an instant. Is that them? Siwuya's gaze returned from the window. Please, have a seat. Hearing this, the figure appeared inside the tavern like a gust of wind in the blink of an eye. Master has good eyesight. He looked at one of the 5 rats. Lucio Luoping, and asked, "Did you come alone?" Hearing Siwuya's inquiry, Luoping chuckled. "I alone am enough. The boss said you are too cunning. You might have set a trap here to catch all 5 of us in one go." Siwuya was silent for a moment. "Speak, how do you want to resolve this?" Luoping crossed his arms confidently. "According to the 5 rats rules, payment is due regardless of success or failure." Yi Zhixing snorted upon hearing this. "According to the rules of the dark net, those who fail a mission must accept punishment, and you still dare to dream of compensation?" Luoping appeared indifferent. "I'm not one of your dark net people. Don't impose your rules on me." Arguing, Yi Zhixing said as he drew his long sword. Seeing this, Luoping chuckled. "Just kidding. Why should we resort to swords?" Siwuya sipped his tea calmly and spoke. "Hand over the precious Zen robe." Luoping hesitated before responding. "The precious Zen robe is with the boss, not on me. Don't look at me like that. I'm just here to give you a heads up. You are a disciple of Evil Sky Pavilion. We can't afford to provoke you, but can't we avoid you? From now on, let's cut all ties, go our separate ways, and owe nothing to each other," Luoping said. Siwuya shook his head upon hearing this. "I sought you out because I valued your capabilities and hoped you could serve me. I was prepared to overlook the failure of the Evil Sky Pavilion's mission, but you should never have taken the precious Zen robe." After saying this, he flicked the wine cup from his hand. The wine cup traced a perfect parabola in the air and fell onto the street. Members of the dark net hidden nearby understood the signal and revealed themselves. The entire private room was now enveloped by a special energy. Yi Zhixing's eyes turned cold, and his long sword trembled. Luoping's face changed drastically, and with a stamp of his feet, he leapt out of the window like lightning. At the same time, 2 figures in gray robes attacked from the opposite side. Skilled in escape, Luoping slipped through the rooftops like an eel. Yi Zhixing looked on in surprise, truly worthy of being one of the 5 rats. Siwuya remained calm, sitting as if nothing had happened. "You may proceed." Yi Zhixing responded, "As you command." He then took out a cylindrical object from his waist, ignited it, and launched it out the window. A shrill whistling sound and a ring of light immediately burst forth, and fireworks exploded in the sky, forming the shape of 2 kitchen knives. Seeing this pattern, Yi Zhixing immediately felt embarrassed. "Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one." He quickly took out another cylindrical object and lit it. This time, the fireworks formed the shape of a smiling face mask. Pedestrians and citizens on the streets all stopped to watch. Several squads of cultivators moved around the corners. They did not target ordinary people, but organized and systematically headed towards various locations. Upper Prime City was in chaos. One of the 5 rats, Luoping, hid in a corner watching above. "Siwuya, just you wait." Just as he finished speaking, Luoping bumped into someone. A man dressed in foreign attire, with a thick mustache, grabbed his arm. "You bumped into me? Don't block the way. Get lost." With a crack, the foreign-dressed man exerted strength, and Luoping felt his arm being crushed as if it were broken. The foreign-dressed man quickly apologized. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." Luoping felt like crying. He wasn't a fool and naturally knew that no ordinary person could crush a cultivator who had undergone the quenched body realm so effortlessly. There was no time to argue, as he was about to be overtaken by pursuers. He turned to run, but the foreign-dressed man stubbornly held onto him, not letting go. Luoping had a gloomy face. "Big brother, let go quickly." Seeing that the other party wouldn't release his hand, he simply pulled out a dagger and stabbed directly at the man. The foreign-dressed man's eyes widened, and he gripped even harder. With a crack, Luoping's entire arm was crushed. Luoping screamed in agony, wanting to move but unable to. No matter how hard he tugged, he couldn't free his arm, and he couldn't walk either. "Thank you, brave man, for intervening." A gray-robed cultivator rushed over upon hearing this, while the foreign-dressed man waved his hand. "It's nothing. May I ask the brave man's name? You've helped capture this thief. I'll come to thank you another day." "No need," the man began. "My surname is Ri." As he said the word Ri, Yi Zhixing, supporting Siwuya, stepped into the air and slowly descended. Luoping, tears streaming down his face, endured the pain in his arm and spoke. "Brave man, let's talk this through." The foreign-dressed man responded with a slap. "I have nothing to talk about with you." After Siwuya landed, he revealed a faint smile. "Fourth senior brother, why this disguise?" "Fourth senior brother?" The gray-robed cultivators on both sides showed surprised expressions. Could it be Ming Sharin, the 4th disciple of Evil Sky Pavilion? Realizing he was recognized, Ming Sharin dropped the act. "Old 7th, you could even recognize this?" Looking at Ming Sharin, who had disguised himself as a foreign-dressed man, Siwuya smiled slightly, teasing. Not many dare to take the surname Ri. Ming Sharin no longer dwelled on that, grasping Luoping's hand and speaking proudly. "Old 7th, I caught this rat for you. Aren't you going to thank me?" Siwuya nodded. "Thank you, 4th senior brother." Luoping, terrified, collapsed on the ground. "Big brother, please have mercy where you can." Ming Sharin glared at him. "Steal from my Evil Sky Pavilion and still talk of mercy? Wishful thinking." Luoping looked pleadingly towards Siwuya. "Our 5 rats have no quarrels or grievances with your dark net. We'll even forego our fee. Rules are made by people. Can't we work something out?" Ming Sharin, with a deep and threatening voice. "I'm not a member of the dark net. What broken rules are you talking about to me?" Ming Sharin furrowed his brow and demanded, "Where's the precious Zen robe?" Luoping, enduring the pain, answered, "It's not on me. I just came to meet with with Master C, and from now on, I will no longer interfere with Evil Sky Pavilion matters. Please, spare me. Ming Sharin, after speaking, kicked and broke his leg. Who the hell is your buddy? Spare you? You're less than nothing. Then he threw him to Yi Zhixing. Keep an eye on this rat. I have some issues to settle with your master. Yi Zhixing stood with his sword in front. Mr. Fourth, please forgive me, but I cannot agree to your request. Seeing this, Ming Sharin, expressionless, uttered one word, scram. He had lost his patience after several confrontations. Siwia spoke softly, Zhixing, stand down. Yi Zhixing complied with a nod, quickly stepping aside. Siwia, hands behind his back, approached Ming Sharin, fourth senior brother. Please join me upstairs. Why meet? The second senior brother is not here today. No one's here to protect you. Perhaps after hearing what I have to say, fourth senior brother might change his mind. I won't listen then. I know you are good at beguiling people. You say you've lost all your cultivation, yet these subordinates are still so loyal to you. What kind of potion have you fed them? The guy who drew his sword just now. Any interest in joining Evil Sky Pavilion? Oh no, you're not qualified. Never mind. Yi Zhixing, hearing Ming Sharin's words, had a big question mark appear on his forehead. Siwia then said, even my senior brother knows I've lost my cultivation. How could I possibly not have some means of self-protection? As the two spoke, the tumult around them grew more intense, with sounds of fighting getting closer and more fierce. Some flying cultivators had already taken the battle to the air. Ming Sharin was puzzled. Why has Upper Prime suddenly become chaotic? Yi Zhixing spoke, Mr. Fourth, to be honest, we currently have 3,000 brothers in Upper Prime City. Ming Sharin was unimpressed, threatening me, just a bunch of shrimps and crabs. I don't care about them at all. Old Seventh, I'll listen and see what interesting things you can say. After saying that, he followed Siwia into the Long Wind Tavern. The two sat down face to face, and Siwia spoke first. I knew you would come, yet I still showed up in Upper Prime City. Do you know why, senior brother? How would I know? I'm not a worm in your stomach. Upper Prime is in chaos, and General Shang, who guards this place, will surely disrupt his own formations. What are you really talking about? Fourth senior brother, if I tell you, will you let me go? Do you think you're in a position to negotiate? Siwia responded with a resigned smile. You might not believe it, but I came to Upper Prime City to help our master. The barrier power of Evil Sky Pavilion is weakening, and the righteous sects are watching closely. My people are spread across every corner of the world, and I have received reliable information that the palace is organizing an unprecedented encirclement against Evil Sky Pavilion. Siwia spoke these words with a very calm tone, and wore an expression that said believe it or not. Ming Sharin nonchalantly shook his head. How many sieges has Evil Sky Pavilion faced before? Bring them on. We'll kill as many as come. Siwia took a drink of water leisurely and swallowed. I admit our master is still sharp. Can you fend them off forever? We both know the truth. Why deceive ourselves? Setting aside the combined attack from the top 10 righteous sects, Chenju from crossing the Sky River, the 10 sorcerers of Tangzi Town, and the Grand Formation at the Lotus Platform all point to the palace. One moly has already been enough of a headache for Evil Sky Pavilion. Recently, Evil Sky Pavilion has been too conspicuous, and the normally conflicting forces within the palace are beginning to unify their views, not to mention 5 years. Can you guarantee that in 2 years, Evil Sky Pavilion will still be as glorious as it is now? Ming Sharin furrowed his brow at this. Let's worry about the future later. Siwia smiled. I wouldn't bother explaining this to anyone else, but you are my senior brother, and I must be honest with you. Besides, you're intelligent. Could I really deceive you? Don't flatter me. Nowadays, the top 10 righteous sects are no longer what they once were. Clarity sect has been destroyed, and the Orthodox sect is barely maintained by Zhang Yuanzhan. The 5 Buddhist sects always prefer to stay out of trouble. With master's capabilities, they wouldn't dare stir for several years. The palace is not like the top 10 righteous sects. Do you know what has allowed the Great Flame Dynasty to stand strong till now? The answer is obvious. If the palace's strength was inferior to the top 10 sects, then the masters of those sects would have been meddling in court affairs already if they were unhappy, causing chaos long ago. Ming Sharin was somewhat incredulous. Is the palace really that powerful? Siwia spoke eloquently. Do you know what things in this world most captivate people's hearts? Power, status, wealth, women, cultivation, techniques, reputation, treasures that are once in a lifetime, even the entire world. After listening, Ming Sharin shook his head and uttered one word, worldly. Siwia changed the subject. Who among us is a sage? How many can claim to be above worldly desires? Fourth senior brother, if you are above worldly desires, would you give me the separation hook? Just kidding. The palace just happens to be able to fulfill all these desires, and thus it can attract capable people from all over. Don't forget, the Divine Capital's Imperial Guards have never left, not even when the Anyang rebels caused chaos. Evil Sky Pavilion has many heavenly weapons and techniques. The combined heritage of the top 10 sects might not compare to Evil Sky Pavilion. In this vast world, there are always those envious of Evil Sky Pavilion. At that moment, smoke of battle filled the air outside, and the sounds of combat came from all over Upper Prime City, with many cultivators being shot down in the sky. Ming Sharin looked downward and said, so much talk, just to say that Evil Sky Pavilion will fall sooner or later. You say you want to help Evil Sky Pavilion. Is this your way of helping? Siwia stood up, also looking out the window. Zhou. This is a necessary sacrifice. General Shan guards this place. Once he dies, Upper Prime will surely fall into chaos. Wei Zhuoyan has already led his troops toward Lian State. The palace won't mobilize the Imperial Guards, so they'll have to send other forces to quell the chaos. Naturally, the palace will then have no time to deal with Evil Sky Pavilion. If once doesn't work, then twice. If twice doesn't work, then 10 times. Upon hearing this, Ming Sharin spit out all the tea he had just drunk. That's your plan? I'd have to be brain dead to believe you. The dark net you've painstakingly built, with intelligence networks covering the world, all elites, operating smoothly, just to do this? I don't believe you. Si Wuyan knew Ming Sharin wouldn't believe him. He poured Ming Sharin another cup of water, and in a strange tone, added to his previous words, if 10 times doesn't work, then 100 times, 1,000 times. A 1,000-mile levee is breached by an ant hole, a 100-foot room burned by a whole smoke. After hearing his plan, Ming Sharin was silent for a moment, then slapped the table and scoffed. Now I get it. You're more ambitious than I thought. Do you think the world is that easy to manipulate? Helping Evil Sky Pavilion is just an excuse for your own survival. Siwaya shook his head. I don't have such ambitions. If not you, then who? After asking this, Ming Sharin's mind seemed to jam, and the image of that broad figure emerged. Could it be the eldest senior brother? Siwaya then interrupted his thoughts. If senior brother thinks my method is childish, then what superior ideas do you have? Ming Sharin fell silent again. What brilliant insight could he possibly have? If there were any, the previous 2 sieges on Evil Sky Pavilion would not have happened. At that moment, rapid hoofbeats resounded on the streets outside. Troops sent to quell the chaos had arrived. Yi Zhixing peeked out, then bowed and said, Master, it's time to leave. Si Wuyan nodded, gave Ming Sharin a meaningful look, and said, it's good that the eldest senior brother has such ambition. At least Evil Sky Pavilion won't be besieged like before. After saying this, Yi Zhixing led him to leap out of the window. Ming Sharin picked up his teacup, unconsciously nodding. That does make some sense. He took a sip of water, reflecting, wait, bringing you back could still implement the plan. I've been bamboozled. I've been spun around. Realizing something was amiss, he quickly jumped out of the window, but Si Weia was nowhere to be seen. Just then, a gray-robed cultivator appeared. Mr. Forth, there's no need to chase any longer. I have never seen the master talk so much with someone else. In fact, even without an explanation, you wouldn't be able to take him away. With that, he pointed outside. Suddenly, with a whoosh, 2 four-leaf avatars appeared. Just as Ming Sharin was unconvinced, the 2 avatars suddenly merged into one, forming a 6-leaf, and then displayed the great supernatural powers technique and vanished from sight. Luoping's eyes widened in awe. So powerful. Ming Sharin turned his head and glared at him. What are you looking at? Keep staring and I'll gouge your eyeballs out. Just as he finished speaking, a familiar messenger bird crashed into the gray-robed cultivator at high speed. Ming Sharin raised his hand to remove the letter from the bird and read it. A flying letter from my junior sister? No way. Master is going to Divine Capital. What is Divine Capital? A place teeming with experts, where the Imperial Guards are stationed. According to Old Seventh, the palace is unifying opinions to deal with Evil Sky Pavilion. Isn't going there like walking into a trap? Who gave Master such a foolish idea? After reading the flying letter, Ming Sharin grabbed Luoping by the collar and quickly left the place. Luoping pleaded miserably, Mr. Forth, please spare me. I can ask my elder brother to return the precious Zen robe. Let's talk this over. Ming Sharin barked in anger. Shut up. Meanwhile, in a forest outside Divine Capital, Whitesword slowly descended. Little Yuaner jumped down from Whitesword's back. Master, we're approaching Divine Capital. Xiao Yu sister, I told you, Whitesword is much more comfortable than the flying chariot. Xiao Yu looked somewhat uneasy, perhaps because she had just recovered. She looked towards the direction of Divine Capital. Master, are we really going to Divine Capital? Lu Zhou said calmly, this concerns your origins. We must not be careless. When the master spoke, Xiao Yu naturally dared not say more, and the 3 of them then entered the city. One of the most prosperous places in Great Flame is Divine Capital. Little Yuaner had long wanted to visit Divine Capital, but unfortunately, her master had never taken her there. Now that she had the chance, she was naturally the happiest. The bustling architecture, orderly streets, and the throngs of people far exceeded the trio's expectations. Xiao Yu followed Lu Zhou closely and obediently, while little Yuaner darted restlessly among the stalls. Master, where are we going? Lu Zhou answered, to Prince Chi's mansion. Seeing little Yuaner's puzzled face, Xiao Yu explained, someone the master knew from before. Someone like master has friends? Hearing little Yuaner's words, Xiao Yu couldn't help but laugh and cry. Such a remark, if made earlier, would have surely earned a stern punishment. She sneakily glanced at her master and, seeing that he wasn't angry, she finally felt relieved. As they walked, Lu Zhou stroked his beard. Yuaner. Hearing her master call her, little Yuaner suddenly knelt down. Master, I was wrong. I won't dare again. Passers-by on the street gathered around to watch. Why did someone suddenly kneel? It's so strange. Lu Zhou also showed a puzzled expression. Why did this girl kneel? Get up. The onlookers on the street couldn't stand it anymore and, after imagining the situation, began to scold Lu Zhou. How sweet and lovely this girl is. How can you be so cold? Exactly. This girl admits her mistake as soon as she kneels. Thinking of my worthless child, there's really no comparison. Your grandfather is old and a bit confused. I'll buy you a candied haw. As a group of people chattered non-stop, little Yuaner angrily stamped on the ground, and with a loud boom, the ground cracked, startling the bystanders into stunned retreat. Wow, that contrast is a bit scary. So fierce. Little Yuaner, fuming, pointed at the people. Say another word about my grandfather, and I'll beat you up. Good intentions taken for donkey's liver and lungs. Why bother meddling? The crowd quickly dispersed. Lu Zhou nodded, quite satisfied. The performance was quite good. In the past, she would talk about killing entire families at the drop of a hat, but this time she only mentioned a beating, which shows significant improvement. Follow. Upon hearing their master's command, little Yuaner and Xiao Yu responded in unison and hurriedly followed behind. As they passed an intersection, little Yuaner pointed to several low-level cultivators and warned, "Master, those are people from the Underworld sect. The Underworld sect is the #1 demonic sect in Great Flame, avoided by many forces, yet they dare to openly recruit here. Doesn't the royal family care?" Lu Zhou shook his head and continued walking towards the center of the city. No need to bother. Xiao Yu explained to little Yuaner, "Indeed, the Underworld sect is considered a demonic sect, but for the royal family, there's no difference between the Underworld sect and the top 10 righteous sects. They simply do not interfere with each other. The Underworld sect recruiting people is no different from righteous cultivation sects taking in disciples, so naturally, the royal family wouldn't interfere. Besides, with the abilities of the great trader, they naturally manage their affairs well. It's the same anywhere. At least so far, the Underworld sect hasn't openly interfered with the royal family's interests. They have been quietly absorbing other demonic forces, which is considered a conflict within the cultivation world." Soon after, the three of them arrived near Prince Chi's mansion. "Master, I'll knock on the door." Little Yuaner was ready to move forward with a clenched fist, but before she could act, the gate creaked open from the inside. An elderly butler looked puzzled and asked, "Who are you?" Lu Zhou spoke calmly. "Where's Qin Jun?" The butler was somewhat annoyed, wondering who would be so bold as to call the master by his name. This butler was not just any butler. He had been at Prince Chi's mansion for 20 years, had earned the affection of everyone from top to bottom, and was meticulous and thorough in his duties, capable of remembering the information, preferences, and faces of the mansion's important guests. A man skilled at reading people's expressions. Squinting his eyes at Lu Zhou, his eyes suddenly widened, as if he recognized something. Not wanting to take any chances, he quickly bent his back and hurried forward to greet them. "May I ask if the old gentleman comes from Golden Court Mountain?" This emotional intelligence, this mind, neither offends by misnaming nor uses terms like devil to cause offense. Lu Zhou strokes his beard and nods. "You recognize this old man?" The old butler, without any hesitation, kneels down immediately. This humble one greets the old gentleman. Beside them, Xiao Yu and little Yuaner are curious. Their master is infamous, and many unrelated to the evil Sky Pavilion avoid him out of fear. This butler kneels, suggesting a special connection. Xiao Yu says, "Answer the question." Little Yuaner nods in agreement. "Answer the question." The butler explains, "This humble one has seen the old gentleman's portrait in the master's study." A portrait of this old man? Lu Zhou recalls the first meeting with King Qin Jun, not remembering any portrait left behind, guessing it must have been commissioned by Qin Jun after his departure. It's no big deal. The butler, very adept at handling people, knowing the status of such a figure, quickly stands up and gestures invitingly. "Old gentleman, please inside." Upon entering the hall, the old butler bravely instructs that the best tea from the estate, lake tea, be served as a mark of respect. Lu Zhou, unconcerned about such matters, asks, "Where's Qin Jun?" The old butler answers respectfully. To respond to the old gentleman, "The master has gone to the imperial city and might return in half a day. Please, feel at ease to stay." As soon as he finishes speaking, a loud voice from outside announces, "I hear we have a distinguished guest." The butler turns towards the entrance. "Young master, miss." As the two enter, they see Lu Zhou seated in the host's chair, a spot not customarily taken by guests. Before Qin Shua can speak, the butler quickly reminds him, "Young master, do not neglect. Even when the master returns, respect must be shown." Qin Shua nods, lowering his proud demeanor. The junior pays respects to the old gentleman, but Lu Zhou, picking up his tea, pays him no mind. After all, there is no value in conversing with the inconsequential. Qin Shua notices, "Isn't this his father's beloved big red robe?" Even with dignitaries from the imperial city at Qin King's estate, his father would not lightly offer this long-treasured tea. At this moment, the butler's expression hardens, and he steps forward with an inviting gesture. "Young master, the old gentleman has traveled far. You should withdraw now. If you blame me later, I will bear it without complaint." The young lady persuades, "Old Hong has been with father for 20 years, longer than either of us. If old Hong says so, we must take it seriously." Qin Shua nods, then bows deeply to Lu Zhou again. "Old gentleman, please rest well. I will take my leave now." After the two leave, old Hong returns to the hall. "I have instructed the servants to prepare 3 top rooms. The old gentleman and the 2 young ladies can rest assured and settle in." Lu Zhou stands and walks outside, looking around, and after 20 years, he thought things would have changed, but it's still the same. Old Hong nods. The master has always been nostalgic. "How is Qin Jun's position in the palace?" Hearing Lu Zhou's inquiry, old Hong quickly quickly responds, to speak truthfully, the palace is full of intrigue which the master dislikes and stays out of. His influence isn't high, but he still holds some sway. Do you know Lian Zhao? Lu Zhou asks directly. Hearing these 3 words, Old Hong's expression changes slightly. Old gentleman, this person is a favorite of the Empress Dowager. Although he holds no real power, his special status attracts many powerful figures seeking to curry favor. He is indeed a notable person. Meanwhile, Ming Sharin, carrying one of the 5 rats, Luoping, flies tiredly. Master, really? Why go to the divine capital at this time? It's so far. You have a mount, and I have nothing. How long will this take? Luoping chuckles, pleading, then just treat me as nothing and let me go. I promise to return the precious Zen robe immediately. Shut up. You think it's just a precious Zen robe? Evil Sky Pavilion has so many treasures. Why fuss over this one? If I die, my eldest brother will be angry, and my second, third, and fourth brothers, who are far superior in thieving skills, will surely seek revenge. When will the cycle of vengeance end? Ming Sharin speaks gravely. The mere 5 rats dare to threaten Evil Sky Pavilion? Do you know the precious Zen robe is my 8th junior brother's lifesaver? Taking the precious Zen robe is akin to killing my 8th junior brother. Let me tell you plainly, the 5 rats are as good as dead in my eyes. Hearing this, Luoping's mind goes blank, and he faints. Ming Sharin glares at him and curses, useless. Divine capital is so vast. How can I meet the master carrying this useless thing? First back to Evil Sky Pavilion, then to divine capital. Thinking this, Ming Sharin grabs Luoping and flies towards the direction of Evil Sky Pavilion. Meanwhile, next to the Long Wind Tavern in Upper Prime City. Upper Prime City has already plunged into utter chaos. 4 figures dash over rooftops and streets. After a while, the 4 regroup, having found nothing. Boss, I found this. No sign of our 5th brother, and Siwuya isn't here either. I found this, our 5th brother's dagger. The boss takes the dagger and snorts lightly. So it's you, Siwuya. Relying on your status as a disciple of Evil Sky Pavilion, you think I wouldn't dare to strike? Our 5th must have been captured by him. I've always warned the 5th to be cautious of Siwuya. This man is extremely cunning and full of schemes. Boss, we all follow your lead. What do we do now? The 3 focus their gaze on their leader. The boss turns and looks in the direction of Evil Sky Pavilion. The monk can run, but the temple can't hide. If Siwuya dares to break the rules, then we don't need to talk about morality. We Upper Prime 5 rats have never pulled off a big job. I ask you, do you dare to join me in a big heist? The 3 show excitement upon hearing this. They've done many petty thefts, sneaking around everywhere, considered vermin by the righteous. People laugh at you as incapable, scurrying through streets where everyone shouts to beat you, yet they don't know even a rat can daringly steal the wick from the Buddha's lamp. Comfort breeds a desire for madness. Many feel this way, and the 5 rats are no exception. Fortune comes at the risk of danger. Who doesn't covet the treasures of Evil Sky Pavilion, especially since they have had experience before? The 4 figures dash toward the outskirts of Upper Prime City. As evening approaches, at Qin King's estate, the butler Hong Fu paces like an ant on a hot pan at the front gate. Has the master returned? Not yet. I inquired, and it seems the matter is very important. The master cannot leave the imperial city just yet. Send someone to urge him again. The servant helplessly responds, Butler Hong, ordinary people can't enter and can't urge. Old Hong nods and sighs. Such matters cannot be forced. It's already an achievement for lowly servants to enter the imperial city, let alone expect them to contact significant figures inside. At that moment, young master Qin Shua approaches, looks around, and comes to Old Hong's side to ask quietly, tell me, who is this distinguished guest? There's no one else around now. Old Hong looks troubled. Young master, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but this matter is too significant, and even if it costs me my life, I cannot let Qin King's estate be implicated. Please don't ask any more. The more you act like this, the more I want to know. In this vast divine capital, I can't think of anyone who would make you so nervous, even to the point of using Father's big red robe privately. If you can't explain, Father will surely punish you. Hearing this, Old Hong gives a wry smile. Young master, I dare stake my life on it. The matter is of great importance. Everything will be clear once the master returns. Then I'll wait. Qin Shua simply stands beside Old Hong. At this moment, a carriage appears ahead. It's the master returning. Father! Old Hong quickly runs over, and a middle-aged man in official robes and a hat steps down from the carriage, his gaze falling on the anxious Old Hong. Old Hong, what's with the fuss? You are always steady and meticulous. Why are you so out of sorts today? Qin Shua laughs. Father, a distinguished guest has arrived at the estate, and Old Hong used your big red robe to host the guest. Isn't that a cause for urgency? Qin Jun frowns slightly. What's going on? Old Hong approaches Qin Jun and gestures to whisper in his ear. Qin Jun leans in to listen, and his expression changes abruptly, his eyes widening. Is this true? His previously listless spirit suddenly becomes invigorated. Quickly gather all the direct relatives in the estate. Seeing his father's panicked look, Qin Shua becomes even more puzzled. Even when the emperor visited, his father hadn't reacted this way. Could this person be more formidable than the emperor? Soon after, all direct relatives of King Qin in the estate rapidly assemble together, standing neatly in the large courtyard. The madam, concubines, and the estate's martial experts all look surprised. What's going on with the master today? Why such a grand arrangement? It's said that a distinguished guest has arrived at the estate. There's no need for such an elaborate setup. It's too exaggerated. I remember the last time we had such a display was when the emperor himself visited. This naturally leads to much confusion among everyone. Silence. Qin Jun's voice reaches everyone's ears. Without my permission, no one is to speak. After giving his orders, he turns and leads the way to the courtyard where Lu Zhou is. Shortly after, he arrives in the courtyard, kneels with a thud, bows deeply, and offers a grand salute. Qin Jun pays his respects to the old gentleman. The entire courtyard falls silent, unable to understand why the master shows such respect. Come in, just you alone. Lu Zhou's voice comes from inside. Qin Jun, not daring to be careless, responds and then waves his hand to those behind him. Disperse. Such a grand assembly, and without saying anything or giving any reason, just disperses at a single command. Everyone is baffled, but who dares disobey when the master speaks? After everyone leaves the courtyard, Qin Jun respectfully opens the door and approaches Lu Zhou, bowing his head to look at the ground. Junior Qin Jun pays respects to the old gentleman. Having said that, he then glances out of the corner of his eye at the old gentleman standing in the room. It's him. Even with mental preparation, Qin Jun still feels nervous. Lu Zhou scans the hanging paintings briefly and loses interest. If the old gentleman likes, these paintings can be gifts. Lu Zhou is not interested in these worldly things and shakes his head. 20 years have passed. How is your cultivation? Qin Jun honestly replies. Thanks to the old gentleman's guidance and diligent practice, barely entered the divine court realm. I am honored and surprised by the old gentleman's sudden visit. Whatever instructions the old gentleman has, I will do my utmost. Lu Zhou cuts straight to the point. I am very pleased with your achievements today. Do you know Li Yunzhao? Qin Jun is taken aback. Yunzhao is a favorite of the Empress Dowager. Of course I know him. Very well. Have him come to see me. Qin Jun is taken aback, hesitating whether to ask why, fearing that asking might offend the old gentleman, and is troubled by indecision. You can't do it. Qin Jun quickly bows and replies. Li Yunzhao has profound and unfathomable skills, a rare master in the palace, and he generally does not leave the imperial palace under normal circumstances. Lu Zhou says nothing, and Qin Jun realizes his own words might be problematic, as only the mediocre constantly look for excuses and reasons. He quickly adds, please rest assured, old gentleman, I will definitely bring Li Yunzhao to you. If there's nothing else, you may go. Qin Jun hesitates, then finally speaks up. Qin Jun dares to ask the old gentleman a question. It is rumored in the cultivation world today that the barrier of Golden Court Mountain is weakening and will collapse within 5 years. Various major cultivation sects are eyeing greedily, ready to strike first to seize the treasures of Evil Sky Pavilion. Is this true? Lu Zhou remains silent for a moment, then nods. Indeed, that is the case. Qin Jun exclaims softly, these so-called righteous cultivation sects are truly despicable. Lu Zhou did not expect him to speak this way. The great flame royal family wishes for my early demise. Aren't you afraid of walls having ears by speaking for me? What is there to fear? My position today is all thanks to the old gentleman. If I were like them, wouldn't I be no better than pigs or dogs? The people of Qin King's estate are each more eloquent than the last, and looking at those miscreants, which one has the awareness of Qin Jun? Unfortunately, it's useless with him alone having this attitude, especially since Qin Jun is only of the divine court realm. The old man merely used you back then. Your illness was nothing significant to me. Qin Jun is silent for a while, then bows with hands clasped. Within the palace walls, who is not using whom? Having seen enough of power games and filth, I've become numb to it. You do see it quite clearly. You flatter me. Old gentleman, please rest well. I take my leave. Lu Zhou waves his hand without saying a word. As night falls, Qin King's estate becomes quiet. Lu Zhou takes out the heavenly writing. Just as he begins to study it, footsteps suddenly sound from outside. Miss Qin Luoping, seeking an audience with the old gentleman.